Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Kellen, and in this video I actually want to talk about the 5 favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movies that I've enjoyed throughout my childhood. I've always been a massive fan of this actor ever since I was a kid. I'm very nostalgic. I don't care. It's very, some of those movies are a little bit cheesy, but overall, this is Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? He delivers kicks to the faces of people in the groin, and while doing so, he likes to sort of show us this psychotic look on his face in every movie. But that's just sort of a little bit of how he is in his other older films. So I'm first start off with Bloodsport. Bloodsport is a classic 80s action film where Jean-Claude Van Damme, right, he travels to this tournament called the Kumite, I believe in China, and then he fights all these variations of different types of fighters. You got kung fu, you got boxing, you got Muay Thai fighters, and this tournament is held up every 5 years, and yeah, you know what, the premise, right, I pretty much have told you already. The premise is it's not deep whatsoever. It's just people fighting in this tournament, and Jean-Claude Van Damme does what he does best, which is delivering kicks to the face, and that's all really you have to know. That is Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bloodsport. So on to the next, Kickboxer. Kickboxer is very similar to Bloodsport, where it's like this underground fighting tournament. Yet again, right, the premise not completely different. The only difference is that Jean-Claude Van Damme, right, in this movie, he has a brother. The brother is also a fighter, and he gets critically injured, right? I believe he gets paralyzed by this pretty much the villain of this film. His name is Tong Po, and Tong Po is this really scary looking guy, right? He's sort of baldish and kind of has this long sort of ponytail. Very scary looking dude, But of course, right, that doesn't stop Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? He trains to get revenge, and he trains into the art of Muay Thai. And yeah, you know what? This is Jean-Claude Van Damme, so he fights Tong Po and in a really cool, awesome way. So now, Lionheart. Lionheart, as I said before, guys, it's not too different. It's another underground fighting tournament, only that instead of taking place in faraway countries, this is New York City. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? He's in the military, and that's the sort of genre where he kind of got into these sort of similar genres where his brother always dies. And that's what Lionheart is. Lionheart is that Jean-Claude Van Damme's character in this film, his brother ends up getting murdered by this gang. There's no explanation as to why he got murdered. He got burnt alive, right? And Jean-Claude Van Damme, right, his character, he is in the military. He's serving, right? And then he ends up getting the news that his brother got killed. So he travels to New York City to help out his widowed sister-in-law. And of course, he makes money the only way he knows how is by, beating the ever-living hell out of people, right? That's what that's what he's good at. So yeah, really great film. It's just, it's entertaining, right? It's entertaining. You don't really have to think about it so much. And that's what makes Jean-Claude Van Damme really such a cool actor. So now, Nowhere to Run. Nowhere to Run, right? It's it's a double feature, right? So 2 movies, right? But I'm not talking about the order, right? I thought it was a okay film. Maybe I need to rewatch it. But Nowhere to Run. So Nowhere to Run, right? Jean-Claude, this one where it gets a little bit different, right? It's not some underground fighting tournament. Jean-Claude Van Damme, he is a criminal in this film, and he escapes from this prison bus, and as the title says, nowhere to run. So he pretty much tries to escape the authorities. He ends up kind of coming across this family, this widowed woman with her 2 kids, and I believe they're also kind of dealing with the situation, and they both help each other out in some way. But the thing is that the family doesn't know that he is a criminal. That is, he is a wanted criminal. So yeah, it's really one of my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I really enjoyed it because, as I said, I don't really remember too much of the stories, you know. I just, all I know is that this dude just likes to kick people in the face, and he does these kind of helicopter kicks, and yeah. So that is Nowhere to Run. Now, Death Warrant. Death Warrant, you know, it's funny because in the previous film, you know, one that I just showed you, he is a criminal, but in this movie, he is a police officer who goes undercover. He goes into this maximum security prison to find out and get some answers as to why a lot of these prisoners are getting murdered. So really, of course, as I said, he's Jean-Claude Van Damme. He encounters a lot of these scary looking people in this prison, and yeah, he does what he does best, you know. So yeah, those are just my 5 best favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movies that I've enjoyed throughout my childhood.